this is really funny, right? Let's move on. Let's move on to the show. Let's get into the chunks of the matter, right? This is LOL. So a lot of people hate this woman, but I don't really care. I guess maybe what should I give myself a blight for this? I guess because I spent so many years listening to absolute degenerates, right? In terms of the the comedian world of the podcast worlds of comedians or the comedian podcast. Yeah, the comedian podcast world, right? They're just degenerates, right? And because my humor is pretty dark, and for the most part, I've exposed myself to that whole. Remember that early 2000s social justice warrior thing that was going on, and college campuses beef, and Milo. Yeah, when Milo was around doing his thing, because I've been so used to seeing that character. There's always a different version of them, right? We've got like a Nick Fuentes guy now who's kind of like, pissing people off online. There's always, they seem to like respawn. Whenever one goes away or kind of falls by the wayside, another kind of like right-wingy, controversial person comes out. And of course, the left has their ones as well, right? Left has the people that are obviously as fringe. Who's a woman that says I'm a fascist, obviously? Who's that woman? Marxist, I don't know, some Asian lady that's a bit nutty. Everyone's got in every faction, every kind of far left contingent has their sort of like lunatic fringe, right? People that just operate on the edges of society, and they're always, valuable for like some really crazy, peculiar sound bites. And I guess Kate Hopkins is one of those people, right? But social media seems to really hate her. I guess because I've been paying more attention because I'm at home and I've been, checking my phone more often. But I didn't know people hated her this much because it's so transparent what she does. She's obviously a troll. She's obviously a wind-up merchant. She gets a lot of pleasure out of pushing people's buttons. She seems to kind of revel in it. She's probably the first person I've seen who doesn't do. I don't think she even blocks people that much for the most part. She seems to retweet a lot of her insults that she gets. She'll say something really controversial. Like she seems to take pride in being a contrarian. Because, have you seen what Ann Coulter's been saying recently? Ann Coulter's kind of bucked away from the train, the kind of the Trump support train, and sort of like been saying a lot of derogatory things about Trump and his administration, his lack of action and stuff, and kind of calling out whether or not he's ever a Republican or not, saying that he hasn't delivered on his promises, blah, blah, blah. And obviously it seemed as if like she's kind of hit a bit of an awakening where she's sort of like, she's still that kind of, blonde bombshell fireball that she is, right? That, there's that kind of archetype of a Fox News host, right? An attractive blonde who kind of, looks like somebody that could bake you a pie, but also hates immigrants. She also has that side of her, but she's clearly kind of evolved to a point now where she's happy to call out either side, right? Because obviously she knows in this economy right now where things are getting super divisive, and if you can kind of carve out, especially if you've had a reputation of being, the queen of the vision, if you can somehow reel it back in and be somewhat neutral, you're probably going to gain a lot of fans. We see it with Tucker Carlson even, so he's doing the same sort of thing where you're sort of playing both sides and you're trying to hope that you can kind of get some people from the left to come over to your side, blah, 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 blah. So if Ann Coulter could do it, it makes me think that Kate Hopkins has the capacity to do the same thing, but she would much rather just be on the opposite side because it's much more fun for her. She just enjoys being a contrarian, and she just happens to be a Tory. I think that's what basically happens. She enjoys really kind of ruffling people's feathers. Whatever the public consensus is, she will obviously sway away from it. She had that weird thing where she was going at fucking Meghan Markle like for a prolonged period of time. She seems to have a bee in a bonnet about her. She hates Stormzy. Like, it's just a weird thing. She seems to have like a tendency to hate people with a different pigment of melanin in her skin for some reason. And I don't know what it is. She's got her issues or whatever it may be, but she's quite transparent. I just thought she was a troll. People on social media hate her. But I guess if you're not a fan of her, you're probably over the moon now because she's been permanently banned from Twitter. She's been kicked off the platform, deplatformed, as some people would say on the social media sphere. I'm not a fan of deplatforming. I think the more nutty and wacky you are, the more breathing room you should be given. I sort of look at people online that people want to get deplatformed the same way I looked at people that do that whole evangelists that go and stand outside the Oxford Street station and say, gay people are going to go to hell and all that sort of stuff. I think give them room, because if anything, it just exposes their ignorance. How many times have you walked past those people and no one's taken any attention to them? It's sort of like you've developed this weird internal mute system. When you hear those people screaming and shouting, you don't pay any mind to it. I'd imagine, even so for me, I'm straight. Imagine what gay people must think. They must not give a fucking fuck about what that person thinks, because it's none of their business how you live your life, right? They cannot judge you. So I don't really get why people want to deplatform people. What would you want? Would you want them to ban the preachers outside the stations? Some people will probably say yes, but I don't think so. I think the more oxygen you give them, the more you suffocate their actual points. Now people don't want to listen to you at all. I think that's what happens. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a young man from Stratford living my life. So this is the article. It says Kay Hopkins permanently banned by Twitter for breaking abuse and hate rules, which is funny, isn't it? That you get banned now and not before. I wonder how many chances you get given. So this is from Sky News. So the following, Kay Hopkins is permanently banned by Twitter for breaching its rules on abuse and hateful conduct. Hopkins, whose first rose to fame in the first series of The Apprentice, has become renowned for her airing controversial opinions on the platform and has previously been accused of using her account to incite racial hatred. The 45-year-old former LBC presenter, who has tweeted in support of the far-right figures such as English Defence League founder Tommy Robson, has her account frozen in January after a campaign by the Countdown's Rachel Riley. That's interesting, isn't it? Everyone hated Rachel Riley for a minute, and now Rachel Riley is somehow... This is weird. There's so much political infighting, right? It's all over the place. Rachel Riley is a social pariah. Then suddenly she becomes a person of love because she's hating a person that you like. It's very, very bizarre. I'm just shocked she's 45. Because she looked far, not to say, I know people are probably not into her regardless, but she looked way more attractive a few years ago. Then I don't know if it's because of the hate online and constantly being angry and tweeting vitriolic things and stuff. It must kind of do something to you. But she's sort of aged really quickly, right? She went from looking like a middle-aged woman to somehow quickly looking like she's in the early 60s. I don't know why that was. Maybe because she's been abused in the tanning bed, or she just generally just doesn't take care of herself. But she really aged super fast. That's the only thing I'd be concerned about with her. If I was her friend, like, babe, like, you need to get off Twitter because it's making you get bare wrinkles. So it continues here. It says Twitter has suspended Kay Hopkins in the past for limited periods of time, but has now opted to banish her from the site for good, which I don't think is cool because it takes away from the public. Like, honestly, I think everyone has a right to have a voice in the public square. It's like, from back in the day, it's up to whether we listen to them or not. Muzzling them or, sticking them in a dungeon somewhere doesn't change anything. If anything, it just makes... If anything, she's going to have more fans. She's going to have more people that are not fans of her come out in her defense because of the whole free speech thing, right? She says some ignorant stuff. She's a pretty hateful person. It's pretty obvious, but let her stew in her own shit. Don't you have family members that are really bitter and hateful? What do? You just avoid them. You don't go to their house often. Same with her. You're on Twitter. If you don't like what she has to say, just unfollow her or hide her tweets or mute her. It's not that hard, really. I don't really understand this whole thing about don't give her a platform. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And what is this platform that you speak of? These platforms aren't as I think people sometimes overestimate just how much influence said person's platform has. For the most part, we all have an element of confirmation bias. We all go out there trying to seek information that confirms whatever worldview we have. So if you don't agree with Kate Hopkins' worldview, it's very unlikely you're going to stumble across her Twitter feed and think, oh, actually, you know what? Those blacks need to go back to Jamaica. You're not going to say that, right? You're going to think she's an ignorant fool and you're just going to keep it moving. So to somehow take her off Twitter, I don't necessarily see what that does for race relations. I don't see how that is going to push things forward. I don't even see what good is going to come of it at all. Because the people that like her are going to follow her wherever she goes. She had, at the time of closing, I think she had like 1 million followers or something. I'm pretty sure. So there's still people out there that obviously do share her sentiment. And for some people to just ignore that or to think that's not true, it sort of has a similar sort of guise to the whole referendum with Brexit. They just didn't want to accept that there were some people in the country who, rightly or wrongly, if they were, let's say if they were like, oh, they were dumb, oh, they got hoodwinked by the government, whatever, right? Some people in this country genuinely thought Brexit was a good thing, so they voted for it. So somehow have a referendum because you don't think it was a fair vote or because people weren't informed enough, it's really, really entitled and super arrogant. I think so. You're sort of essentially, without you saying it, it's sort of like dog whistle for saying that, oh, you guys don't really know what you're talking about. Let's vote again because now we're going to shift it in our favor. It was really ill-advised. I'm happy it didn't happen because I think it would have been extremely embarrassing for the result to go the same way again the second time around. Then what would the Remainers would have said? I just don't understand it, man. It doesn't really serve a good purpose. It really kind of, if anything, it leads to more division, these sort of things. It's really ironic to say that because Kay Hopkins is, the queen of division or divisiveness, but I don't see what good this does. I really don't. But let's continue. It says, it's not clear what led to the company's latest intervention, but a spokesperson told Sky News, keeping Twitter safe is top priority for us. Abuse and hateful conduct have no place on our service. and will continue to take action when our rules are broken. That's the funny thing, though. They say that, but if you've got one follower and you just keep tweeting the most maddest opinions, but no one knows who you are, then what? You don't. They're not trying to keep it safe there. The safety only happens when you've got a volume, when you've got a platform, quote unquote, or you've got an audience. But haven't they ever thought that part of the audience that you have wants to hear what you speak about, regardless if it's really hateful? There might be some people out there that just share that worldview. They just have that opinion on immigrants. They have that opinion on Muslims, on Islam, on foreign affairs, on Trump, on whatever. They have really warped opinions of the world. It is what it is. Like, I don't see why that's a wrong thing. It's just really bizarre. I don't really understand that. And how far do you take that sort of thing, right? Kay Hopkins is okay, but Tommy Robinson's not. Like, where do you gauge where the level of vitriol, like, because a lot of those people, I think, because I follow a few of them, because I always like to have my Twitter feed to be quite balanced. I want to hear what the people on the left and people on the right are saying, right? And I've seen there's some people on Twitter, especially some of the right-wingers ones that have, like, you know, the Union Jack on their Twitter handle or whatever it may be, and they have Britain First on their bio. They're very clever at being well-behaved. They know how to just say the right amount of vitriolic stuff, so they know how to, like, bait people in to kind of, you know, get a bit of banter and get a bit of a social engagement, make sure they get their likes up and all that malarkey, but also know what to say so it won't get them banned. They're very clever at kind of pulling it in. Maybe Kay Hopkins' error in that regard was that she was so reckless. She honestly thought she was untouchable. She thought she could say whatever she wanted, and she underestimated just how much people hated her. I think that's what she did. She really underestimated her. She thought that she was just some kind of pantomime villain, but no, you're not pantomime villain. We actually don't give a fuck about you. We want you to die, kind of thing. And I think she underestimated it. It continues to say, in this case, the account has been permanently suspended from violations of hateful conduct policy. Miss Hopkins has been contacted for comment. Despite being removed from the site, her name was top trending topic on Twitter, and she won again. She does it all the time. She does it. So something happens in society that we all kind of agree on. Rashford is going out there, taking time out of his busy schedule to ensure that kids kids from low income families are able to have school dinners for the next 6 or 12 weeks, whatever it may be. Right? He goes out of his way to do that, and guess what she says? Those families should think about not having more than one kid if you're poor. Do you know what I mean? She knows what she's doing, and you guys keep fucking falling for it. It's just insane. It's as if none of you guys have, like, shitty friends that say bullshit comments that you just kind of silence or air it out because they have other parts of their personality that you like. I know that she's not your friend, but come on, man. We should be able to pass through. We should be able to walk through a room full of people that we don't like without having to fight everyone on our way to the bar. It's just, come on. Anyway, it continues here. So she recently criticised Black Lives Matter movement online and sparked a Twitter feud with English footballer Marcus Rashford over his successful lobbying of the extension of school meals. She wasn't really a feud. She was going at him more, so he was just kind of ignoring it. Oh, and she went to the Black Lives Matter protest in London wearing a fucking disguise. How can you respect someone like that? She talks all that smack online, and then when she gets out in public, she has to put on a wig and a hat and do, like, eyebrow movements like, do you know what I mean? She wasn't even brave enough to show her face. Come on, man. And then you guys are getting triggered online. It's like, come on. It says previously Hopkins was written to the Sun newspaper and the Mail Online, which is interesting. She gets fired from everything, innit? She left LBC on 2017 following comments about the Manchester Arena attack. Mum, what did she say about that? She said you need to kill the Muslims. This woman is on a tear, innit? She reminds you of Adrian Durham. That's why I'm so numb to it. I've grew up most of my life listening to TalkSport and Adrian Durham on there, right? The quintessential shock jock. He'd say the most asinine, ludicrous thing. Now he's sort of walked it back. He's sort of become like a reasonable guy, I think, for the most part. But I don't really listen to TalkSport that much anymore. But I remember back in the day, I used to get so annoyed by it. And I remember my dad walking in one day, like hearing me cussing at the radio, right? As Adrian Durham was talking, he's like, "What are you doing? This is his job. He's here every week." From 4 till whatever, right? This is what he gets paid to do. He gets paid to make sure the phone lines keep ringing. The more controversial his statements are, the better it is for his company. And you can go away, tune out, and keep it moving. Kate Hopkins is the same thing. What should she say about the Manchester Arena attack? Let me just see this, because I haven't actually heard this one. Okay, she doesn't have it there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. In the same year, she lost a libel case against food blogger Jack Monroe when she ended up paying $24,000 damages after suggesting they approved of defacing a war memorial during the protest in London. More recently, she's been associated with the conservative Canada organisation Rebel News. Hopkins still has more than 60,000 subscribers on her person. It's not really a lot in it, considering how long she's been out on the scene. Only 60,000 subscribers. Where she uploads speeches and videos giving her opinion about current affairs. But my most funniest memory of Kate Hopkins, and something that I'm going to actually remember her for the longest time, is her appearance on Good Morning, right? With Philip Schofield and the other woman that's always like, right, that one. It was really funny. I think I actually got it already loaded up on it. Let me see if I can get it. Actually, see it. There we go. Yeah. So this is the video, right? That made me. This is kind of what made me a fan of hers, because even in the face of, even when she gets confronted with her hypocrisy, she still has to maintain, some semblance of like derangement. It's just incredible to see, and I loved it. I think she appeared on Good Morning. I think she was kind of like going ham about. I think it was probably a week of current affairs where celebrities were naming their kids crazy shit, and she came out with some asinine comment, and of course she got confronted by it, and it's just funny. This clip is fucking amazing. Let me play it for you guys now. Come on, get back to the start. Yeah, there you go.
You start to judge someone surname. You start to judge someone on their surname.
Well, as I said, I don't judge people on their surnames, but certainly I do make a very quick decision based on their first names. And there's a whole bunch of first names that I don't like.
I like the way she talks, man. As well, it's so funny. It's so, like, she's being such a wind up. I just don't understand. She's such a cunt. And also why you guys get annoyed by it. Like, clearly a thing. Like, she knows exactly what she's doing. It's just hilarious. Look at this exchange.
I don't like footballers' names. I don't like names after seasons of the year. I don't like geographical location names, celebrity names, things like Apple, things like, Tilly Fizz or Jolly Apple, whatever they've decided to call their crazy.
Poppy.
My child's called Poppy.
Yes,
it's a flower. A geographical seasonal.
No.
They're not like Latin.
Look at her. She's just. That cognitive dissonance is amazing. She gets confronted by what? Her main. How she'd never thought about that is just some madness as well. But I guess it's the hypocrisy of humans.
Well, to the Latin name for Poppy, that would have been really posh.
Interestingly, though, other people have criticised me for calling her Poppy because they say Poppy's a naughty name.
So parents do criticise each geographic other. Stuff.
Geographic. Oh, so Brooklyn or London.
Your child's called India.
Yes, but that's because she's
Oh, that's how I'm gonna remember Kate Hopkins, man. That's how I'm going to remember that lady. Honestly, that's how I'm going to remember her. What a fucking legend. Honestly, you get confronted with your hypocrisy right in your face, right? And you still can't let it go. You're like, what? How can you be angry with people's geographic names and your kid's called India? Like, god damn it, man. But hey, what can you